My child, listen closely, because what I am about to share with you is heavy, real, and raw, and it is not a story you can afford to ignore. This is not a tale spun for drama or a movie script playing out for entertainment on a screen. This is a reality unfolding right now. There is a woman out there at this very moment, tangled in wires and hooked to machines, her eyes barely open as she gasps for every single breath. Each breath she takes isn't a gift or a relief. It is a heavy weight, a constant reminder, and a chain keeping her tethered to this world when she is begging to leave. She wants to go. She wants to find peace and escape this agony, but something powerful holds her back because heaven isn't done with her yet. This is happening right now in a cold, sterile room where machines beep rhythmically and time drags on endlessly for a soul that cannot find rest. A woman lies there, not fighting for life in the way you might think, but wrestling with a punishment that simply will not let her go. This is karma, my child, in its truest, most unflinching form, a balance that must be restored before the spirit can depart. Until her debt is paid in full, until every wrong she has done is faced and acknowledged, she will keep breathing, trapped in her own tragic story. You might be wondering who she is and why she is lying there, caught in the terrifying space between life and death. What did she do to deserve this kind of prolonged suffering? The truth is heavy, complicated, and it is not simple to digest. Her hands, though they look weak now, carry the invisible crushing weight of lives she destroyed. We are not talking about small mistakes. We are talking about not one, not two, but 3 souls who never got a chance to breathe the air of this world. They were unborn, innocent, and taken before their time. But you need to know exactly what she did and whose lives these were. I am going to tell you everything step by step, because the truth deserves to be heard and witnessed. If you are ready to receive this, if your heart is strong enough to carry this burden of truth, give me your time, and I will lay it all bare for you. We must look at the sins, the dark secrets, and the specific reasons she is still here, half alive in that ICU bed. To understand the end, we must go back to where it all began, 3 years ago. Picture a young woman full of light, her heart warm and bursting with the beautiful dream of becoming a mother. She was so close to the finish line, so close to holding her first child in her arms and realizing her deepest desire. Her home was alive with hope, filled with tiny clothes folded with care, a crib waiting in the corner, and soft blankets ready for a new life. Every night without fail she would rest her hand on her belly, whispering to the life growing inside, promising love, safety, and a beautiful future. She was only 1 month away from meeting her baby, counting down the days on the calendar and imagining their little face. She would dream vividly of their first smile, their tiny fingers wrapping around hers, and the sound of their laughter filling the hallways of her home. She and her husband would sit together in the evenings, planning, laughing, and picking out names that felt just right for the soul they were about to meet. The nursery was prepared with love, painted a soft yellow that felt like sunshine, and every detail was perfect, down to the little stuffed bear waiting on the shelf. They would lie awake at night talking about what their child would be like. Would they have her eyes or his laugh? Would they love music or books, or maybe both? The future felt so close, so real, like a promise they could almost touch with their hands. But one night, without warning, everything just stopped. The kicks, the flutters, the heartbeat, they were all gone. A silence took over the house, so heavy and oppressive that it felt like it broke her spirit right then and there. She lay in bed, clutching her belly in desperation, whispering to her baby, begging for a sign of life. But there was absolutely nothing. Panic set in, and she rushed to the hospital, her heart pounding in her chest, her husband gripping her hand, both of them praying for a miracle. But the ultrasound screen remained still. It showed nothing, no movement, no life, just a devastating void. The doctors shook their heads, their faces somber, calling it a tragedy and saying, "Sometimes these things happen," but those words felt hollow. They used words like unexplained and loss, but those clinical terms couldn't hold the massive weight of her pain. She sat in that hospital room staring at the empty screen, feeling her entire world crumbling around her. Her husband held her tight, his own tears falling silently as they realized they would be returning to a nursery that would stay empty. The little socks, the crib, the bear, they instantly transformed from symbols of hope into painful reminders of a dream that slipped away. Yet, in her grief, she didn't scream or curse the heavens. She bowed her head and whispered, "If this is meant to be, I trust there's a reason." But inside, her heart was shattered, pieces scattered like glass across the floor that she didn't know how to pick up. Time moved on, but the ache stayed deep within her. Her heart was scarred, but her love made strong enough to keep going. She wasn't ready to give up on her dream, she told herself. One loss doesn't mean forever. So she gathered her courage and tried again. When she found out she was pregnant a second time, that same light came back to her eyes, though it was mixed with caution. The glow returned, the laughter filled her home again, and it felt like life was giving her another chance to be a mother. She carried her second child, feeling every kick and every movement like a miracle she was terrified to lose. She was careful this time, more cautious than before, guarding her heart, but still full of hope that this time would be different. She would sit in the nursery, touching the same crib, imagining it filled again, refusing to let fear win. Her husband would wrap his arms around her, and they would talk about the future, convincing each other that the storm had passed. If you are listening to this story, and you feel the weight of this injustice, I want you to engage with this truth right now. Type "I am listening" in the comments so this message reaches more people who need to understand the spiritual laws of life. By commenting, you help expose the darkness and share the light. They would dream of teaching their child to ride a bike, of family picnics, of bedtime stories under a blanket fort. They bought new things for the nursery, a mobile with stars, a tiny hat, and a book of lullabies to prepare for the arrival. Every purchase was a step toward hope, a way to believe again, but fate wasn't kind to them. Just weeks before the birth, it happened again. The heartbeat stopped, and the terrifying silence returned to their lives. Another soul slipped away before it could begin, and she was at a checkup when she saw the doctor's face change. When the machine showed nothing but stillness, she sat in the hospital staring at the ultrasound screen, willing it to show something, anything, but it was blank. The doctors tried to comfort her, but their words felt empty against the magnitude of her loss. Her husband's hands trembled as he held her, both of them breaking under the weight of another loss they couldn't explain. The pain was sharper this time, cutting deeper, like a wound reopened before it could even begin to heal. They went home to a quiet house, the nursery untouched, the mobile still spinning slowly above an empty crib. But still, she didn't turn bitter. She whispered through her tears, "If this is your plan, I'll wait for your yes." She clung to her faith, even when it felt like the entire world was against her. She believed there was a reason, even if she couldn't see it, holding on to trust in the dark. Her heart was bruised, but it didn't give up. A year later, she tried one more time. The third pregnancy was different, fear mixed with hope, and every doctor's visit felt like a gamble, every day a prayer. She would lie awake at night, her hand resting gently on her belly, counting every kick and every flutter, terrified that if she stopped paying attention, they would stop moving. She and her husband prayed harder than ever before, pouring their souls out, believing that this time would finally be different, that this time they would be allowed to keep their miracle. They trusted in the process, they hoped against the odds, and they loved that unborn child with a ferocity that defied their past trauma. For 8 long months, it seemed like the answer was finally yes, as the baby grew strong and the mother looked radiant with health. Their home, once quiet with grief, filled with warmth again, and they gathered the courage to paint the nursery once more, this time choosing a soft blue like a clear sky after a heavy storm. Friends and family smiled with relief, saying the storm was finally over, and they threw a small baby shower filled with laughter and gifts to celebrate the coming life. There were tiny onesies, a new mobile to hang above the crib, and a soft blanket knitted by her mother, all symbols of a future they were ready to embrace. The couple would sit together in the quiet of the evening, dreaming of the day they would finally hold their child, imagining their first steps and their first words. The day of delivery finally came, and the air in the hospital room was thick with joy and anticipation. The father held her hand tight, his heart bursting with pride. The mother laughed through happy tears, feeling that everything she had suffered was leading to this moment where everything would finally be right. But then, in a split second, the room went quiet, a chilling stillness that stopped the world from turning. There was no cry, no sound of life, just a silence that shattered them completely as the doctor stood frozen, their faces turning pale. The father fell to his knees, his sobs echoing in the silent room, a sound of pure despair that no father should ever have to make. The mother's voice broke through the stillness, raw and desperate, screaming, "Why? Why again?" as her cries filled the hospital corridors. It was a sound so raw it could break your heart. Just to hear it, she clutched her husband, begging for answers that no one in that room could give her. The pain was unbearable, a wound so deep it felt like it would never heal, and once again they left the hospital empty-handed. Their dreams were crushed again, and they had to return to a nursery that was now just a painful reminder of what they had lost for the 3rd time. "My child," I heard her cries, and felt her heart break. I saw the father's shoulders shake, and the mother's hands tremble as she reached for a child that wasn't there. But I stayed still, in that moment, not because I didn't care, but because the truth of what happened was darker than anyone could have possibly known. It wasn't me who took those lives, and it wasn't chance, bad luck, or a medical mystery that caused this tragedy. It was her, the woman now lying in that ICU bed, her body tethered to machines that force her lungs to accept air. Her breaths are a punishment she cannot escape, and she is being held here because she was the shadow behind their pain. She was the hand that stole their joy, the hidden reason 3 innocent souls never saw the world, and you need to understand how she did it. What kind of darkness could cause such loss? This woman, my child, wasn't just broken, she was consumed by something evil. Long before her body failed her, her heart turned cold, and envy grew inside her like a poisonous weed, choking out anything good. She didn't just wish harm upon them passively, she planned it, she waited for it, and she savored the destruction she caused. She watched this couple closely, saw their hope rising, saw their love, and saw their dreams of a family, and she absolutely hated it. Her own life had left her feeling empty, her own dreams had crumbled, and instead of healing herself, she chose to destroy them. She moved carefully like a predator in the tall grass, waiting for the perfect moment to strike when they were most vulnerable. When the mother's joy was brightest, when the crib was ready and the future felt certain, that is when she struck, whispering words that carried heavy weight. These were words that weren't just cruel, they were cursed, spoken with an intent that pierced the spiritual realm. She didn't use a weapon you could see with your eyes. Her tools were quiet, hidden, and rooted in a darkness that thrives on pain. She would visit the couple, smiling to their faces, pretending to share joy, but her heart was miles away in a dark place. She would sit in their home, sipping tea calmly, nodding as they talked about baby names, all while her words carried a poison no one could see. She would linger in their kitchen, her eyes scanning the nursery they lovingly prepared, her voice soft but sharp, planting seeds of doubt, fear, and loss. Each time the mother laughed, she spoke words in her heart designed to silence that laughter. Each time hope grew between the parents, she wove a thread of darkness around it to choke the life out of it. She waited until the final weeks, when the parents' hearts were full and the birth was imminent, and then she tore it all down with her spiritual wickedness. 3 times she did this. 3 times she watched their world collapse, feeding on their grief like a parasite. She would see the mother's tears and the father's broken stare and feel a twisted satisfaction, like she had won something by taking their light. But who was this couple, and who was this woman who brought such suffering into their innocent lives? The couple was closer to you than you might think. Their home was just down the street, their smiles hiding a storm you would never guess they were enduring. You might have passed them in the market, seen them walking hand in hand, never knowing the immense weight they carried in their hearts. They were the kind of people who would wave at neighbors, who would stop to help a stranger, who would pray quietly and love deeply. Their home was small but warm, filled with photos of better days, of trips they had taken, and of moments they had hoped to share with their children. They would sit on their porch in the evenings, watching the sunset, holding on to each other like they were each other's anchor in a turbulent sea. They were ordinary people, my child, but their love was extraordinary, and that is exactly what made their pain so sharp. And the woman who caused this, she wasn't a stranger or a distant enemy. She was family, someone they trusted implicitly. She was the sister-in-law, the one who would sit at their table, share their meals, and laugh at their jokes as if she were their greatest supporter. Her name was spoken with warmth in their household, cherished as family, until the day the truth transformed that name into a bitter curse. You see, years ago, she too had dreamed of a child, envisioning a home filled with the chaotic, beautiful laughter of a family. She had pictured tiny feet running through her hallways and little hands tugging at her skirt, just as her brother and his wife did. She had planned a nursery of her own, picked out names in secret, and imagined a life full of love that would complete her. But her body failed her time and time again, and each loss chipped away at her soul, leaving cracks where the light used to be. Instead of seeking peace or healing for her broken heart, she allowed a seed of resentment to take root deep within her spirit. Jealousy began to whisper to her in the quiet of the night, and tragically, she chose to listen to its poisonous voice. It told her a lie that became her creed: if I can't have it, no one can, and she accepted this dark bargain. That is when she turned to something darker, something that promised her a sense of power over life and death, even as it took her soul. She traded her inner light for control, stepping into a shadow world where she felt she could dictate the happiness of others. With every step she took down this path, she moved further away from grace and deeper into a cold, isolated existence. Her heart became a desolate place where love could no longer live. She found a twisted joy in breaking others rather than healing herself. She began to delight in watching their dreams turn to dust, feeling a surge of power every time they stumbled. Each curse she spoke, whether in her mind or under her breath, tied her tighter to the darkness she had chosen to embrace. She would watch the couple prepare for their baby, seeing the mother's radiant glow and the father's swelling pride, and it burned her inside like acid. She would smile to their faces, offering congratulations and hugs, but behind their backs she would whisper words that carried a heavy, spiritual weight. These words reached beyond the world we see, striking at the fragile life trying to grow, intent on snuffing it out. She didn't just want them to hurt for a moment, she wanted them to break completely, to feel the same emptiness she felt. She would sit in her own home at night, alone in the dark, her heart cold as ice, replaying the couple's joy like a movie she hated. She plotted meticulously how to end their happiness, obsessing over their downfall while they slept peacefully, unaware of the enemy next door. And each time she succeeded, each time she saw their tears and heard their cries of anguish, it fed something hungry inside her. It was a dark hunger that only grew with every tragedy, demanding more sorrow to feel satisfied. 3 times she did this, 3 times she stole their light and extinguished a future, leaving them grasping in the darkness. Now look at where that path has led her. She lies there, my child, in that sterile ICU bed, her body a hollow shell of what it once was. The machines beep rhythmically, and the tubes force air into her lungs to keep her alive, but every breath is a reminder of what she did. She is not fighting to live because she loves life. She is fighting to escape the torment of her own existence, but she can't. Heaven has not released her. The spiritual realm has locked the doors, keeping her trapped in her body. Every second she is awake, staring at the ceiling, she feels the crushing weight of those 3 innocent lives she took, the pain she caused, the parents, the joy she stole from the world. It all sits on her chest like a stone. Her tears now do not change the past. Her pleas for mercy do not erase the intentional malice of her actions. Karma does not bend to late apologies. It demands truth, and it demands that the debt be paid in full. The truth is simple and terrifying. She sowed pain into the lives of others, and now she is reaping that pain in her own body. The Bible says it plain, a law that governs the universe regardless of whether you believe it or not. Do not be deceived. God cannot be mocked, and the energy you put out finds its way back to you. A man reaps exactly what he sows. This isn't cruelty. It is the divine balance of the universe correcting itself. It is a divine kind of justice that doesn't rush to punish, but never ever forgets what was done in the dark. But let's pause here, my child, because this story isn't just about her and her punishment. It is about you too. It is about the weight we all carry in our lives, the choices we make daily, and the paths we choose to walk. Life isn't always kind, and it certainly wasn't kind to that couple, or eventually to the woman who caused their pain. But the lesson here isn't just about what happens to you. It is about what you do with the cards you are dealt. The couple lost everything 3 times over, yet they didn't let the tragedy destroy their spirits. They cried, they broke down, but they held on to something greater than their grief. They leaned on each other, on their faith, and on the stubborn belief that there was still good in the world, even when it felt miles away. And you, my child, you are going to face your own storms in this life, challenges that will test your resolve. Maybe they won't be like theirs, maybe they won't be as heavy, but they will come for you all the same. The question you must answer is, will you let those storms define you, or will you keep going despite the wind? Life has a way of testing us, of throwing obstacles in our path that feel too big to move and too hard to climb. You will have moments when you want to give up, when the road feels too long and the answers just won't come. Maybe it's a dream that keeps slipping away, a door that refuses to open, or a loss that cuts deep into your soul. Maybe it's the smaller daily frustrations, the little setbacks that pile up until you feel like you're running in place. A late bill, a missed opportunity, a fight with someone you love, or a day when absolutely everything goes wrong. But those moments, whether they are life-altering tragedies or small annoyances, aren't there to break you. They are there to shape you, to make you stronger, and to push you towards something bigger than yourself. Discouragement is a liar that whispers in your ear, telling you to stop and quit. It tells you that you aren't enough, that the struggle isn't worth it, but you must not listen. But you are enough, my child, because you are still here, still fighting, and still breathing against the odds. Think about that couple and the unimaginable strength they showed in the face of darkness. After the first loss, they could have given up hope. After the second, they could have turned bitter and cold. After the third, they could have cursed the world and walked away from their faith entirely, but they didn't. They kept going, even when it hurt to breathe, even when the logic of the world told them to give up and despair. They held on to each other, clinging to hope like a lifeline, believing that their pain had a divine purpose, even if they couldn't see it yet. They would together at night, talking softly about the children they had lost, imagining what they would be like, and keeping their memory alive in the quiet of their home. They would pray not just for their own healing, but for others, asking for strength for those who were also walking through the valley of shadow. That is what I am asking of you today, my child. When life gets heavy and the path gets rough, do not let go of your faith. Don't let the enemy whisper lies in your ear that make you doubt your worth or your future. You are not alone in this struggle. I am walking with you every single step of the way, even in the moments when the fog is thick and you cannot see my hand. Contrast this with the woman in the ICU, who chose a completely different path when life disappointed her. She let her pain turn into poison, allowing her loss to curdle into a hatred that consumed her entirely. She looked at someone else's joy and decided in her heart that it wasn't fair, believing that if she couldn't have happiness, no one else should either. That is exactly what jealousy does to a soul. It doesn't just hurt the people around you, it ultimately destroys you from the inside out. It takes your light, steals your peace, corrupts your soul, and leaves you with nothing but a heavy burden of regret. She is lying there right now, feeling every ounce of that regret, replaying every choice she made and every curse she spoke. Her story serves as a stark warning, my child, a reminder that the energy you put into the world always finds its way back to you. You cannot curse someone else's blessing without cursing yourself in the process. You cannot spread pain without it eventually finding its way back to your own door. But you do not have to walk that dark path. You have the power to choose a different way. You can choose to heal, to grow, and to love even when it is R&D, and even when the world gives you every reason to be bitter. You can choose to keep going, even when the road is steep and your legs are tired. The couple in this story chose love over hate. They chose faith over despair, choosing to believe that their immense pain wasn't the final chapter of their story. And you can choose that too. Your struggles, your losses, and your doubts are not the end of your journey. They are just part of the process, part of the refining fire that makes you who you are meant to be. Let me tell you something beautiful about that couple. After their third devastating loss, they didn't stop living or loving. They grieved, yes, but they also grew. They started a small garden in their backyard, planting flowers as a living tribute to each child they lost. They planted 3 roses, red and white, to remember the lives that never had the chance to bloom in this world. They would sit there in the evenings holding hands, watching the sunset over their garden, finding a profound peace in the quiet. They would talk about their dreams, not just the ones they had lost, but new ones, ways to keep going and find meaning in the aftermath. They began helping others, reaching out to families who had faced similar losses, sharing their story to offer a shoulder or a prayer. They would sit with other parents, listening to their pain and holding space for their grief, showing them that they weren't walking alone. Their pain became a bridge, a way to connect with others, to heal broken hearts and to show that light could still shine through the cracks. And that is the powerful thing about pain, my child. It has the potential to either break you or build you. It can turn you inward like it did for the woman in the ICU, or it can push you outward toward others, toward something bigger than yourself. The couple chose to let their pain mean psalm, ething. They didn't let it define them as victims. They let it refine them as survivors. They found ways to give back, to love deeper, and to live fuller lives, even while carrying their scars. They would volunteer at a local shelter, bringing food, clothes, and kindness to those who had nothing, spreading the love they still had to give. They would write letters to other grieving parents, sharing words of hope and reminding them that they were not alone in the dark. They would pray not just for themselves, but for a world that was broken and needed healing. And through it all, they held on to each other, their love growing stronger and more resilient through the fire they walked through. That is what I am asking of you, my child. Whatever you are facing right now, whatever weighs heavy on your spirit, let it teach you. Let it make you kinder, stronger, and braver. Let it remind you that you are not just here for yourself. You are here to lift others up, to shine light in dark places, and to keep going even when it is hard. Maybe your struggle is a loss like theirs, or maybe it is something else. A job that didn't work out, a relationship that strained, or a dream that feels out of reach. Maybe it is the small things that chip away at you, a bad day, a harsh word, or a moment when you feel invisible to the world. But every struggle, big or small, has a divine purpose. It is shaping you, pushing you, and preparing you for what is next. The woman in the ICU, her story isn't over yet. She is still breathing, still paying her debt, and still facing the truth of what she did. Her body is weak, but her mind is awake, replaying every moment, every choice, and every curse she spoke into the lives of others. She sees the faces of the couple, the nursery they prepared with love, and the dreams she shattered with her envy. With every breath, she feels the crush. Weight of it all. But her story isn't just about justice. It is about choice. She chose darkness, and it led her here to this bed of regret. She let her pain twist her, let her envy consume her spirit, and now she is living the consequences of those choices. But you, my child, you can choose light. You can choose to rise above your pain, to hold on to hope, and to trust that every step has a purpose. The road isn't easy, and I never said it would be. There will be twists, turns, and moments when you feel lost in the woods. You will stumble, you will doubt, and you will wonder why it has to be so hard. But I am with you always. Even in the fog, even in the storm, your trials are not random accidents. They are made for you, designed to shape you into someone who can carry the weight of their divine purpose. Think of it like a potter with clay. The clay doesn't become a beautiful vessel without pressure, without heat, and without shaping. Your struggles are the hands of the potter molding you, refining you, and making you ready for what you are meant to hold. You want life to be simple, don't you? We all do. We want blessings to fall like rain without the work. We want the path to be smooth, the answers to be clear, and the journey to be easy. But that is not how growth happens. Easy doesn't build character, and comfort doesn't deepen faith. It is the hard moments, the ones that make you dig deep, that show you who you truly are. Everyone faces them, not just you, not just the broken, but everyone, the rich, the poor, the strong, the weak. We all walk through fire at some point, and those moments aren't there to stop you. They are there to strengthen you, to push your roots deeper into the ground, and to make your love real. Think about it like a tree. A tree doesn't grow strong roots in calm weather. It is the wind, the storms, and the push and pull that make its roots grip the earth tighter to survive. Your struggles are like that wind. They are not here to uproot you, but to make you hold on harder and stand taller. The couple in this story faced storms that would have broken most people, but they held on to each other, to their faith, and to the belief that their pain wasn't the end of the story. They found ways to keep going, to find meaning, and to make their loss a light for others to follow. And you can hold on too. Whatever you are facing, whatever feels too heavy, it is not the end. It is just a chapter, one that is making you ready for what is next. So keep going, my child. Don't let the weight pull you down. Don't let the doubts win over your heart. The fog will clear, the light will break through, and you will see the purpose behind it all. Your story is still being written, so make it a story worth telling. Keep walking, keep believing, and keep loving, because the road is leading you somewhere beautiful. To ensure you stay on this path and receive the encouragement you need every day, please click the subscribe button right now. Join our community of believers who choose light over darkness, and let us walk this journey together.